Hi, welcome to Beef Cattle Institute's Ask the Experts, where our experts will answer your question. I'm Brad White, joined today by two good experts, Dr. Philip Lancaster.
Hello, Brad.
And Dr. Bob Larson.
Hey, guys.
We've got a great listener question today. And as always, as the answers come out, you guys will get a score up to 10 points. And this question is relevant, especially to this time of year, from a listener that said, when I have looked in the past, I've listened to you guys, and you said separate my first calf heifers from my cows. When can I put them back together? Because it'd be way easier to manage as one group than separate groups. Philip, I'm going to go to you first.
Well, I think that question gets a little bit difficult based on timing and things like that, but you probably need to continue to feed those first calf heifers differently than your cows after calving. So they need additional supplement through early lactation if you don't have grass available yet, so that you can feed them properly to meet nutritional needs. And then, potentially, depending on timing of branding, if you're going to do it branding or pre-breeding vaccinations, and you can put them back together, when you're turning them out to grass and you're no longer feeding them differently, they're all getting the same grass, and then you can mix them back together and be okay nutritionally.
Okay, so you're saying keep them separate until we go to green grass and we're not supplementing anymore.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. 6 points for Philip to start out with. Bob?
Yeah, I'm going to look at it more from a disease challenge standpoint, in that we've talked about this Sandhills calving system, which basically keeps calves away from older calves, so newborn calves. And in that type of a situation, the ideal thing would be if my heifers calve ahead of my cows, so that all of my heifers have calved out before the cows start calving. That would be ideal. And I've got one or two groups of heifers and their calves, and they are segregated, and they're kept away from those cows until we turn them out to green growing grass. So I'm actually going to give the same answer as Philip. I think the time when you put heifers and their calves back together with cows and their calves is when we go out to grazing. But again, I'm thinking about it more from a disease control or scours control, in that once we turn cows out onto pasture and they spread out and they're grazing in a different part of the pasture every day, I'm not really worried about scours anymore. As long as we are supplementing those cows and bringing them into a tight area, whether it's a dry lot or a corner of a pasture, then I am worried about scours, and age segregation is really important, keeping young calves away from older calves. And so I'm actually giving the same answer as Philip, but I was thinking more of scours prevention. And once we turn those cows out on grazed pasture and they spread out, they can be, all ages of cows can be together.
Okay, so same answer you would expect, same score, but you ended up with 5 points. Philip's got 6 because it was the same answer. So, Philip, I want to follow up and go back to, as you said, keep them separate because you're going to feed them differently. Is that up until calving? You said potentially post-calving. Are you planning on how different does their feed need to be from the mature cows?
Well, so they're still growing, so they're going to need some additional supplement. They also are probably not going to lactate as heavily as mature cows. And so there's just a different nutritional environment there from keeping those calves or keeping those heifers growing. They don't consume as much as a mature cow, so they need a higher nutrient-dense diet to meet those needs. And so, yes, I want to keep them separate through early lactation, especially if I don't have green grass yet. I mean, if I'm turning out on green grass, I don't calve until April and I've got green grass coming on in May, then I'm all right there in that case because I've got good quality grass in that early part of lactation. But if I'm calving in March, I want to keep those heifers separate so that I can feed them appropriately through March and April before I get to green grass in May.
And not just the nutrient density of the ration, but the social aspects of being heifers versus mature cows.
Yeah, you've got that issue there too, where you got dominance problems and whether they get enough to actually eat.
So Philip went to 7 points. Bob, you have time for a quick answer. We've mentioned before calving the heifers before the cows. How early do you want the heifers to start calving before the cows?
Really, I'll take almost anything. My preference is 30 days. I think 20 days is almost as good, and I will certainly accept 2 weeks. My goal is to get all or most of the heifers calved before the cows start calving. And so that usually means a little shorter breeding season for those heifers. So if it's my 20 or 30 days, then maybe I confine my heifer breeding season to 30 days or 40 days and have them pretty much all done before the cow calving season even starts.
Excellent. Have them done before the cow starts. That's a comeback for Bob, and you almost stuck to our time limit. So
There you go.
thanks. And as you have questions for us, Bob ends up with 9, Philip ends up with 8. If you have questions for us, send them at bci@ksu.edu.